What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Welcome and hope you guys are doing well. So the other day I posted a all-for-one team for all stage 20 dungeons. Now this is one team and one set of skill instructions, and it can help you beat in really fast time all the stage 20 artifact dungeons. But here's the thing, I did use a few legendaries in that video, notably Kymar, Ghostborn, and or Lydia. So some of you guys are asking, well, is it possible to build an all-for-one team that can beat all stage 20 dungeons and not use any legendaries? So guys, this took a while to figure out because all the different dungeons have different mechanics. So try to figure out one team that can beat all stage 20 dungeons in pretty good time. We're talking under a minute for most dungeons. Is actually pretty good. So guys, the toughest was Ice Golem. Trying to make this team work for that because none of these champs are really tailored for Ice Golem. A lot of these dungeons, I felt like I was trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. And when you change one little thing, like tweak one little mastery, it helps with one dungeon, but it may hurt another dungeon. So there's a lot of thought put into this as far as the gearing, as far as the masteries, as far as the champs themselves. But yes, this one team with no legendaries works across all stage 20 dungeons. Alright guys, so here's your team, check it out. So obviously Seer is helping us get through those enemy waves. She's the best wave clearer in this game. Now we do have Renegade in here to help us reset the cooldown skills. Now she doesn't do a full reset like Kymar, so we're gonna have to adjust for that. Now we have our two Coldhearts in here for turn meter reduction and enemy max HP skills, but also they're helping us clear the waves too. So they're gonna need to be geared differently. That's the thing. You can't just make your regular Coldhearts that only focus on the A3, that Heart Seeker. That's not gonna work for this comp because the Coldhearts are actually helping us get through the waves. Now we have Ugo here for that defense down. So that's going to be the really important part for her, AoE defense down. So we also have her for revives for the Ice Golem. So if you want this team to do stage 20 of the Ice Golem, it can, and Ugo is going to help us do that. So guys, here's the thing about substitutions for this comp. As far as Ugo goes, you can substitute her for any defense down champ outside of Ice Golem. For Ice Golem, for this type of comp, you're going to need Ugo because you're going to need revives. But outside of this, if you want to do this for, let's say, Fire Knight 20, Dragon 20, if you want to do this for Spider 20, any defense down champ should work. So somebody like Tayrell is fine. You can have somebody like Stag Knight, Venus, any defense down champ. Once again, outside of Ice Golem 20. If you want to do Ice Golem 20 with this type of team, yeah, you're going to need yourself an Ugo because she revives. Now, as far as the Coldhearts, can you replace them with somebody like a Royal Guard? I think you can. You can interchange the Royal Guards and the Coldhearts, but the speed tuning would have to be a little bit different. So that's something to take into consideration. But I think in principle, yes, it would work with this type of blueprint to use Royal Guards in here, or maybe one Royal Guard and one Coldheart. I think that actually worked pretty well. Now, as far as Renegade here, could you replace her with someone like a Painkeeper? I don't think you could. The Painkeepers don't reduce the cooldowns enough, so I don't think that's possible. Of course, you can upgrade. You can reduce cooldowns with somebody like a Kymar, like I already showed. If you want Yumiko, that would work too. But going down a step, somebody like a Painkeeper, I don't think that would work. Now, as far as Seer here, can you replace her? I think you can, and I probably think I can come up with something, but the problem is the runs would take a lot longer. And, you know, if you want like 5 to 6 minute runs, even a team that can do all stage 20 dungeons, but each run is like 5 to 6 minutes, it probably not look that impressive to you guys. That's the thing. So I don't know if I'm ever going to do it because chances are, if you guys are Seer, like, why would I ever make this kind of team? The runs take way too long. Even though it's super cool that one team could do it, I don't think you guys are going to be impressed. Let me put it that way. And I don't want to do something where you guys aren't going to be impressed. So I don't think I'm going to do anything like without a Seer. You can do Poison Explosion, stuff like that. You can use Ruel and Hex, but those are kind of different comps. As far as using this similar type of blueprint, except just switching out somebody for Seer, I don't think there's any direct way to just switch someone out. I think it's possible to do a team like this without Seer, but the runs would take a lot longer. And once again, probably wouldn't be impressed with it. So chances are I probably won't do it. So guys, one difference with this team and the team I put out the other day using a few legendaries for your stage 20 dungeons is that with that team that I put out the other day, you had one team and one set of skill instructions, and it worked through all stage 20 artifact dungeons. One team, one set of skill instructions. For this particular team, unfortunately, we're going to need 2 sets of skill instructions. One team, we're not going to change anything out, but we're going to need 2 sets of skill instructions. One for the Spider's Den and one for the rest. The Spider Den is going to be a little bit different. It's just because of the Coldheart's AI. So guys, cool thing is this is still a speed team. Most of all the dungeons that we're going to go through are going to be under a minute. The only exception is Ice Golem. So most of all your dungeons with this exact same team is going to be under a minute. So really good as fast speed runs, especially if you're doing these dungeons for events or tournaments, which you should be doing stage 20s. Even if you can do stage 24s, 25s, you shouldn't be. The points per energy spent are not as good as stage 20s. So in particular for your dungeon events and tournaments, you want to be doing stage 20s. And this team can help you do that fast, under a minute for these dungeons, except for Ice Golem, which is going to be like a minute to a minute 30 seconds. Still not bad. All right, guys, so here's the thing about stage 24, the Fire Knight. It's a bad affinity for Ugo, so it's not the best run for her, but it's easy to just switch her out. Once again, any defense down champ would work, especially someone of the Spirit affinity. So if you have somebody like a Stag Knight or you have somebody like Ghostborn, that'd be perfect for stage 20s. She can do it, but not as consistently. So we're just going to run stage 19. But for Ugo, the rest are going to be stage 20s. It's only for the Fire Knight that it's probably better and more consistent to run your stage 19s, but it's an easy fix if you have another defense down champ that's not a bad affinity for stage 20. Easy one-to-one replacement. Okay, just have the same speeds, you should be good to go. But for this particular run, because we're using Ugo and we're kind of showing her off, we're gonna do stage 19s. So let's see how this run goes. Once again, all the runs under a minute, except for Ice Golem. Now in this first wave, we're going to see the Coldhearts here help us get through the waves. That's really important. So we'll have to gear them and master them a little bit different, which I'll talk about later. Okay, we're to the boss quickly. Good. We should be good to go from here. Should be no problems. I need like 1 or 2 more Heart Seekers and we should be good to go. There you go. 49 seconds. Now, are there faster teams that can do stage 20 or 19 of the Fire Knight? Of course there are. I showed you one the other day, under 30 seconds. But are there any non-legendary teams that can do this stage in this time and do all the other artifact dungeons as well? Probably not many. Once again, guys, if you want to run this for stage 20s, just swap out Ugo with any other defense down champ that's not a bad affinity, and it should be a direct one-to-one replacement. Just have the right speeds, and it should be fine. All right, guys, next, let's try Dragon 20. So similarly, we should be looking at under a minute runs. So the Coldhearts help us get through those waves. That's really important for this type of run. Now, second wave shouldn't be too bad. As far as Seer, she should just wipe people. There you go. Now, once we get to the boss, we don't have any poisons, really. We do have from the Coldhearts, if there is heal reduction on the boss, which there is. And when the user A2s are going to poison, but we don't really need it. Just basically enemy max HP skills is how we're going to beat this boss. All right, there you go, 51 seconds. So once again, guys, to reiterate, the Coldhearts are helping us get through those enemy waves as well as helping us beat the boss with those enemy max HP skills. So if you see certain builds and comps that are focused more on the Heart Seekers, the A3s of the Coldhearts, pretty much exclusively, they're going to be geared different. And they're going to be built different, their stats are going to be different. So once again, I'll show you that at the end, but we need our Coldhearts to do double duty, help us get through the waves and help us clear the boss. Next up, guys, give Spider 20 a shot. So the whole point of the skill instructions is because the Coldhearts will not prioritize the Heart Seekers. That's the only reason we have separate skill instructions only for this particular dungeon. But this should be a relatively quick run, maybe under 40 seconds. Now, sometimes the Coldheart will die. As long as we have like 1 Coldheart left at the end, we're good to go. So if 1 dies, it's okay. It just means the run may take a little longer. But as far as clearing it, you should be fine. There you go, 36 seconds. All right, guys, time for Ice Golem 20. So as long as we get that defense down on each wave and we get the clear from Seer, we're good. Even if the timing isn't perfect. It's not really required to be perfect for the Ice Golem. So a lot of times everybody's going to die except for Ugo, and Ugo's going to revive. So that's the point of having Ugo as your defense down champ. For this particular dungeon, she's a reviver. For the rest of your dungeons, you won't really need her to revive, but this one, yes, you will. But she can only revive when everybody's dead. Like right now, she can revive. But unfortunately, that same skill she uses to revive heals. So sometimes she will use it and not save it for the revive. But it still works vast majority of the time. Ugo can take it, no problem, no problem. She's a strong Infinity, she's good to go. There you go, 1 minute and 26 seconds. As I mentioned, guys, this team is probably least fit for Ice Golem, but we made her work. All right, guys, let's go over everyone's gear stats and mastery, starting with Seer here. So how have I geared her? I have her in a Savage set and a crit damage set. On to her total stats. So I have her HP at 47,000, I have the attack at 2,700, I have the defense at 1,600, I have the speed 217, crit rate 98%, crit damage 254%, resist 161, and accuracy 303. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense are not that important. In the Ice Golem, where she is taking damage, basically she's getting revived, so it's not a big deal to have her with low defense and low HP. Now, as far as the attack, basically her wave clearing ability, the Karma Burn, doesn't scale off attack, so we don't even need high attack on her. So for the chest, you can put an accuracy chest, whatever you want, but it doesn't need to be an attack percentage chest. Now the speed, you probably don't want her any slower than this 217. Crit rate, try to shoot for 100%, even though at 100% you're actually at 97% because of the built-in 3% fail rate. Crit damage as high as you can get it. Resist, we don't need an accuracy, definitely higher than 200. For stage 20s, you're shooting for over 200. But if you want to use it for upper Doom Tower waves, especially you want to shoot as high as possible, over 300. As far as this particular team setup, you're going to need to have this A3 booked out. So use as many books as you need to until this A3 is booked out. Onto our masteries. So down the offense tree, if you pick up Whirlwind of Death, you're going to have to make sure that your defense down champ, your Ugo, is at least 18 speed faster than your Seer here to kind of make up for this difference, this boost in speed that Seer gets when she clears those waves. If you don't want to take this, that's fine too. And we have Helm Smash here, so we have 50% chance of ignoring 25% of the target's defense. So really good for clearing those enemy waves. But if you have a really hard-hitting Seer, you might consider Flawless Execution for the consistency of the damage. So it's up to you guys. But also Evil Eye is really important on most all of our champs, especially against the Fire Knight. But it helps in other dungeons as well, so make sure you pick up Evil Eye. Next up, guys, is the star of our comp, Ugo. So how is she geared? I have her in 2 Immortal sets and a Speed set. Now, guys, really this Immortal set, the healing is for the Ice Golem if you plan to use this comp for the Ice Golem. If you don't, then you don't need any sort of healing or regeneration set on her. This is purely for the Ice Golem. So we're gonna use this team for the Ice Golem. Immortal is good, also regeneration would be fine as well. Onto her total stats. So I have her HP at 88,000, I have the attack at 1,600, defense 2,400, speed 240, crit rate 32%, crit damage 96%, resist 324, and accuracy 261. So which stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense if you're planning to use Ugo against the Ice Golem, because she will be taking and tanking a lot of hits. So definitely a lot of HP and defense. Attack is not relevant for her. Speed 240. This is a good speed, in particular against the Spider's Den. So with this speed in particular, you're able to cut in with some of those smaller spiderlings attacking one of your Coldhearts. You can cut in and heal them, as you guys saw in this run. A little bit up or a little bit down, you're not going to quite cut in at that right time. So it's up to you guys. You don't actually have to have your Ugo at this speed, and you can just let one of your Coldhearts die or whoever. It's fine. The run should be fine if somebody dies for the Spider's Den. But this particular speed is really good if you want your Ugo to cut in with that heal for whoever those Spiderlings happen to be attacking for those few hits they take. Now, crit weight, we don't need it. Crit damage, we don't need it. Resist, we do need it. In particular, if you plan to use Ugo for the Ice Golem to resist the defense down and the provokes from the ads. That's really what you want to do. And also the freezes as well. So definitely high resist. We're looking at over 300. Once again, if you're going to use her for the Ice Golem. If you don't plan to use her, no resist is required. And lastly, the accuracy, we're looking at over 200 accuracy for really all your stage 20 dungeons, as high as you can get it pretty much. So guys, as far as books, you're going to need to book out this A2 here. So use as many books as you need to until you book out this A2. Now the A3 in particular for the Ice Golem, you want to book this out. But I think in general, it's good to have this booked out as well for your other dungeons. So definitely book out the A2, but I would recommend booking out the A3 as well. So use as many books as you need to until you book out those 2 skills. On to our masteries. So which are the most important? Well, it depends. If you want to use Ugo for pretty much anything but Ice Golem, you're not going to need Unshakable here. So for example, you can go if you want to Eagle Eye for increased accuracy, kind of lessen the requirement on your gear. It's up to you guys, but if you want to use Ugo for the Ice Golem, you need to have some resist. So if you have a good resist banner and her resist is already at those plus 300 numbers, then you can go Eagle Eye to get that accuracy. So it just depends. Either Unshakable or Eagle Eye, depending if you're using or not on the Ice Golem. But another really important one, as we mentioned before, is Evil Eye. This is really important. And you do want Master Hexer here for increasing the duration, potentially, of her defense down debuff, which is one of the main reasons we're using her. And this is nice as well. Spirit Haste is not going to mess up the speed tuning on anything, because basically this is only going to proc for the Ice Golem when everybody dies. And all the other dungeons, people don't die that often. Sometimes one person may die in the Spider's Den, but besides that, nobody dies. So really, this only helps us out in the Ice Golem. So this is really good once again if you want to use it for the Ice Golem. Next up, guys, are the Coldheart. So I'm going to start with my faster Coldheart. So how have I geared her? I have her in 2 crit damage sets and 1 cruel set. On to her total stats. So I have her HP at 28,000. I have the attack at 3,700. I have the defense at 1,400. Speed 189. Crit rate 97%. Crit damage 278%. Resist 121 and accuracy 224. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense are not that important. They can help you tank a few of those Spiderling hits, but they're generally not that important. Against the Ice Golem, you're going to be wiped a lot. So if you can fit a little bit in, it helps against the Ice Golem, but otherwise, don't worry about it. Attack, yeah, you do want some good attack numbers on her because her Heartseeker is based on attack and enemy max HP, and her A2 as well is based on attack, that damage for her AoE. So yeah, definitely you're gonna want to stack on the attack, in particular since we're using her not only for the Heartseeker but for the A2 as well, so that's really important. Speed 189, you're gonna have one faster and one slower Coldheart. You can experiment with the speeds. It's not completely speed tune locked like it has to be these speeds, so there's probably a lot of leeway, so experiment with that. Crit rate 97%, pretty much where you want to be at. You can go 100%, but as I mentioned, you can never really go above 97% because of the built-in 3% fail rate. Now, as far as the crit damage, 278%. As high as possible, as high as you can get it. Resist is not required. And accuracy, once again, we're looking at over 200. So here we have 224. So guys, as far as books, you're going to need to have the A2 here and the A3 booked out. So use as many books as you need to until you have both those skills booked out. Now, as far as blessings, 100% you do not need any blessings at all. So don't be fooled by that. You do not need any blessings on any of your Coldhearts. Onto masteries. Now you can experiment with different ones, but the most important ones are going to be firstly down the offense tree, this tier 6 mastery, War Master, so we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP. This is in addition to the enemy max HP damage of her A3 Heartseeker. So we're getting 2 enemy max HP damage attacks when this procs when she does Heartseeker. So really good for your damage, in particular against bosses with those huge HP pools. Now, another really important one that we talked about is Evil Eye, in particular against the Fire Knight, but this definitely helps against all bosses, really. You're going to see. Now, some can't get their turn meter reduced, but a lot of them can, so this definitely helps. And this one is good as well, Master Hexer, because ideally, in particular against the Ice Golem, it doesn't always happen, but we're trying to proc poisons against the Ice Golem with the A2 here, and that requires that the Ice Golem have this heal reduction debuff placed on them by the A1. So basically, if we can get that heal reduction placed on them a little bit longer through Master Hexer, we can get more poisons placed against that boss. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it helps to run a lot. Alright guys, next up is my slower Coldheart. So how have I geared her? I have her in 2 crit damage sets and a perception set. Onto her total stats. So I have our HP at 30,000, I have the attack at 5,000, I have the defense 1700, speed 153, crit rate 95%, crit damage 273%, resist 138, and accuracy 218. Onto our mastery. So the most important ones are here, even though a lot of the other ones are slightly different. So as I mentioned, experiment. So we do have War Master here. So once again, we're getting bonus damage based off enemy max HP. Now, if you want to, you can go flawless execution as well. So if you want really consistent damage with your Coldheart, you can go flawless execution. But we also have that Eagle Eye as well, and we also have the Master Hexer. Lastly, guys, onto our Renegade. So how have I get her? I have her in a shield set and a speed set. Onto her total stats. So I have her HP at 48,000, I have the attack at 2,700, defense 2,000, speed 243, crit rate 20%, crit damage 115%, resist 182, and accuracy 250. So what stats are important? Well, firstly, the HP and the defense, if you plan to use her against the Ice Golem. If you don't, then don't worry about it. Attack is irrelevant. Speed, make her the fastest of your team. So we're definitely looking at over 200 because we want to be faster than the bosses in particular, but she needs to be the fastest on your team. And crit rate, crit damage, we don't need any of that. Resist, we don't need any of that. Accuracy, if you plan to use her A2, that decreased speed against the bosses, which is good if you don't have another decreased speed champion. If you plan to use her for the A2, her decreased speed, yes, you're going to need some accuracy on her. So if she's the only decreased speed champ in your comp, use her A2, make use of it. That decreased speed is helpful against bosses where you can decrease their speed. Not all bosses you're allowed to do that, but yes, some bosses you definitely can, like the Fire Knight. You can do that against the Ice Golem, you can do that against the Spider. So yes, definitely make use of that. So you're gonna need to put over 200 accuracy on her. So as far as books, if you plan to use her against the Ice Golem, then definitely book out this A3. If you don't, it's not really required, though I'd probably recommend it even for the other dungeons, but it's not required except for the Ice Golem. It's definitely required if you want to use her for that. And I'd recommend booking out this A2 as well, once again, for that decreased speed debuff. So it's up to you guys, okay? In particular, yes, book out her skills or A2 and A3 against the Ice Golem, but for the other dungeons, it's up to you. You can experiment, it's probably not required. On to our masteries. So down the defense tree here, I do have Unshakable, but it's not required. I was just experimenting with this. You don't need it, so don't do it. So which ones are important? Well, Evil Eye, once again for decreasing the turn meter, in particular against the Fire Knight, but it helps with other bosses as well. Now, we do have Master Hexer here for potentially extending the duration of her decreased speed debuff. So this is really important, really helpful against a lot of bosses. And for tier 6, I'd probably recommend Eagle Eye here. Alright guys, on to the skill instructions. So these skill instructions are for all your other artifact dungeons besides the Spider's Den. So for Seer here, for round 1, turn the Karma Burn to the first priority. Round 2, Karma Burn first priority. And round 3, you have her open with the A1 here, but everything is left as default. So for your Renegade, for round 1, go ahead and open with the A1, but everything is left as default. For round 2 here, turn off the A2 because we're saving it for round 3. So for round 3 here, you're going to open with that A2, and for the priorities, just leave everything default. Now for your Coldhearts, they're both going to be the same. For round 1, you're going to have everything as default. Round 2, everything default. And round 3, you're going to open with the A1. So it's going to be the same thing for both Coldhearts. So all the priorities, the 1s and 2s, they're all going to be the same through all 3 rounds, except for round 3, we're going to have a different opener. We're going to open with the A1 for both our Coldhearts. And lastly, for Ugo, for round 1, just default. For round 2, just default as well. Now for round 3, we're going to open with the A1, but the priorities are left default. Alright guys, next up the priority for the Spider's Den. So everything is just on the first round because that's the only round you have. You don't have anything else but the first round. So Seer is going to have the Karma Burn as the first priority. For Ugo, you're going to leave her default. For Coldheart, go ahead and have the Heartseeker as the first priority for both of the Coldhearts. And lastly, for Renegade here, you're going to open with the A2, but everything is left as default for the priorities. Alright guys, that's going to be about it. So let me know what you think about this team in the comments. Now I think for early and mid game, this is one of the most efficient things you can do for your account. To have one team for all 4 artifact dungeons instead of having 4 separate teams. 4 separate teams means a lot of champs that you have to gear separately and grind for. Here, we have 1 set of champions, 1 set of gears for all the champions, and only 2 separate skill instructions, once again, over all 4 artifact dungeons. And once again, you're running your level 20s artifact dungeons for your events and tournaments anyways. You shouldn't be doing above that anyways to get the maximum points per energy spent. So if this video has been helpful to you, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, it's free to you, and it ensures you don't miss out on any of my new content. So thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.